Alright, I guess we need to get started. It is 10:45 in the morning in Sebring, Florida. It is 45 degrees outside. My little shop has no insulation, and it is freezing in here. My little space heater is running nonstop, but I need to get this done. So I'm going to brave the cold and work as long as I can. If I decide to stay here another year, which I probably will, as long as it's available. I really like this little place. I need to insulate my shop area. And then maybe look into a mini split. That way I have AC out here in the summer and heat in the winter. Even though it's only 150 square feet. It's 12 by 12, so it's 144. But if I'm going to work out here all year, I need to think about climate control. And more importantly, humidity control. But I guess if my shop were insulated, I could have someone come in and add on to the ductwork and just extend the duct from the bedroom over here into the shop. I'm right off the main bedroom. And it would only be a 6-foot stub to get the ductwork to come into this room. But of course, that would require insulation. I would need to insulate this room then. Not necessarily for the summertime, but for the winter. And the floor, there's no insulation in the floor. I mean, this shop is literally built on the deck. It's just a 12 by 12 room that's enclosed on the deck. So yeah, there's a natural slope to the deck, of course. And then it's just the 2 by 8 planks on the floor. But the person who lived here previously, or the current owners, or whoever, they just added some, looks like 1/4-inch plywood on top of the deck boards. One downside is that I can't really add anything more to the flooring. Um, because the back door is already at the same height as the flooring in this room. And I can't raise the door, I can't cut off the door. Yeah, my house is a park model trailer from, I want to say, the late 70s, early 80s. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, it's hard to guess the age of this place. It's been remodeled so many times. But it's a park model trailer. So moving doors around isn't really an option. Um, removing the 2x8 deck boards underneath the floor, that's not an option. But I really like it here. No, maybe if I decide to buy this one day. I really love the location. I love the fact that I can step outside first thing in the morning, you know, all except for like 10 days out of the year when it's, below 50 degrees. So any day in the morning I can step outside and the lake's right there. Neighbors are great. Parking kind of sucks because, we're 15 feet away from, the next park model. So I don't really have a parking space. We have some community parking across the street. But, and that's where I have to park. I'm like the only one out here who doesn't have a parking space. And that's because I'd rather have a yard. So I have a space that's big enough to park in, but it's all grass, and I have this thing about parking on the grass, so I don't use it. I'd rather park over in the overflow parking and keep my grass clean. But yeah, if they give me the option to buy this place, I probably would. I like it that much, even though I've only been here a couple months. You know, I already know that there's some issues. I just had an issue pop up. I haven't had a chance to talk to the owner about yet. But the last time we had a really heavy rain, and I had the AC running. The blower motor for the AC for the central air would not shut off. Until I went out and pulled the emergency plug for the central air and shut the whole system down. It's one of those things. It's probably just the relay sticking, but since I don't own the place, I don't have permission to open everything up and replace the relay, find out why there's water getting into the unit. Even though I could probably fix it. or close to nothing. I'm not allowed. It kind of sucks because I've always been pretty self-sufficient. I try to figure these things out on my own, and I'm in a place where I just not allowed to do that. In every place I've rented before, as soon as you have a problem with something, and then they have to spend any money to fix it. As soon as there's an opportunity for them to raise your rent goes up a couple $100, only because they had to spend money to maintain the property. I don't want to have to go through that. But I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to trust that they're not going to, you know, budget me right out of here. They seem like pretty good people, though. The old couple that I'm renting the place from. So I don't think they would do that. Even if they did have to raise the rent, if I explained to them, hey, this is what my budget is. I can't go up over that. Maybe some negotiation. But I've only been here for a couple months, and I signed a 1-year lease, so we're all kind of locked in until November of next year anyway. So I'm not really trying to worry about things that haven't happened yet, or I'm just rambling, just talking about the first thing that comes into my mind while I'm working. Trying to get a little more comfortable just talking to the camera. Touch that up really quick with the 105 before I move on and forget about it. Oh, now I got to go back and touch up that piece of background. Sometimes just go back and forth and back and forth. If you don't touch those bright cuts, then you don't have to go back and fix anything. So do it right the first time. You don't have to go back and try and fix it. So I don't know if I've explained this before, but now that we're on a bigger camera, I'll put my glasses on so I can see. My handpiece, I've got the little end on it just so that it's lighter and it doesn't try and pull out of my hand while I'm stippling. I also put uh, 3 nitrile O-rings on the adjuster so that while I'm engraving, you can just grab a hold of those O-rings, and it's a little bit of grip that makes it easier to adjust. That's all. So I really wish Steve would, make it so that the adjusters would stay, the O-rings would stay on there without having to put anything else on there. And in addition to that, I'd like to see notches marked in the body and maybe numbered so that you can quickly get back to settings. Like right now I have it hitting pretty hard. If that was like a number 8, and then the soft hit that I used for shading, if that was like a number 2, just so that you can quickly go back and forth without having to depend on feel, I guess. I guess if I were going to machine one, I'd want something in there because I'm all about repeatability, and being able to get back to your settings is a big deal. Like, just far enough out of focus that it's annoying. So I did break one of my own rules yesterday, that if you're going to start a process, finish it. You know, because day to day things change, especially with stippling. I started stippling about 4 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, and by 5 o'clock it was time to stop and get ready for church. And I had only made it through, well, that much roughly. But when I start a process, I try and get it done that same day, because especially with stippling, your texture can change just a little bit. You hold the handpiece just a little different. You pay a little closer attention. Things change day to day, and I like to keep that texture consistent from one day to the next. But I guess it's turning out fine. I mean, I have no complaints. I'm pretty happy with it. Ever since I went back to using this pin vise for stippling, man, this is so much more comfortable. And I still can't stipple for an hour without my hand cramping up. But I can stipple for 45 minutes. Like the amount of time that I've been stippling so far today, my hand is just now starting to cramp. And it's not even that bad, really. Although I do wish I'd keep this microscope in focus today. But probably has as much to do with my eyes as anything. I spend so much time underneath this microscope that I'm starting to have issues with my eyes. I can't drive at night anymore. Um, yeah, the glare is too much for me. My eyes are extremely dry now. Yeah. Um, and most people don't realize it, but when you sit underneath the microscope and you focus on what you're doing, um, you actually stop blinking. One of the worst things that can one of the things that are the worst things for your eye health is not blinking underneath the scope. It's not uncommon for me to go 3, 4, 5 minutes without blinking, and I have to consciously remind myself, you gotta blink every now and then. If I have to go anywhere after dark, I just wait till the next day. They'll schedule things in the morning instead of running the risk of being outside after the sun goes down. I guess that's just part of getting old too. You know. But I'm not old. Well, I'm not even 50 yet. You know, this stupid disease that I have, ages you pretty quick. So, That looks pretty good. It looks a little splotchy underneath the microscope lighting. But you get it out from underneath the microscope lighting, and that'll look really good. All right, let's get rid of everything on the inside. So, back to the 96. I really wish I could just pause this recording instead of having to stitch everything back together every time I need to take a break. Actually, I think I will. I'll take a break, go refill my coffee, and then get back to work. All right, back to work for about an hour, then we'll stop for lunch. Let's see. Where are we at? Just can't seem to get my chair right today. Either too tall or too short or... Okay. We're not taking out background there. That's going to stay. Because I'm going to fill that in with lines coming off of the backbone. Just so that it looks like it flows into the back. Or flows into the border. You know, as much as I like the flat, I feel more comfortable coming in with the 105 first. Yeah, then I can come back with the flat and flatten it out. I guess the process I have up against the borders works fine. And me, I want to build a good process for my background work, which, I kind of halfway have one right now. But adding that flat, kind of changed my process a little bit. So now I have two different processes. Alright, so we're not taking this out, but I want to keep that heavy line there. Not taking this out. I am taking out this square here. Or this triangle. So I probably should not have cut that or that, but they say engravers never really make a mistake. We're just really good at winging it. Guess that's what makes our work unique, or makes each piece unique. Or maybe somebody's going to come across this video and they'll be like, "Oh, you screwed up. You made a mistake. You cut out a spot you weren't supposed to." And I'll be like, "Nah, look at it." So now this whole thing makes me wonder, what's different between today and yesterday? Yesterday I was having, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this because you know I'm going to invite a whole bunch of problems. But yesterday I had a lot of problem with breaking the tip on my 105, which I'm using right now, and in the same spot, you know, the same part of the gun where the steel's pretty hard, and not a single chip in the graver yet. So it makes me wonder, what's the difference between yesterday and today? Anything? Yeah. Maybe it's just me. You know, it's one of those things that makes me wonder, you know, maybe there is something pretty basic that I've missed early on that I should have picked up on but didn't. I mean, neither here nor there, but just one of those thoughts that comes to mind when you can't, and you don't seem to, when you struggle with something and you're trying to find a solution. The only solutions and the only reason seems to be, well, it's just you. I'll leave that there. Trying to find the right angle to cut some of these little spaces out about the bottom of my graver, scraping all over the cut behind it. I'll come back and get that with the flat. It makes me wonder, do people actually, I mean, I know one or two of you do people actually like watching these long form videos? I mean, I know early on I liked watching a few of them. And I'm really torn between um, the format for the videos I'm using. I've got the format set up right now so that if I want to chop these long form videos down into smaller reels for Instagram or Facebook reels, I can do that pretty simply. The aspect ratio is already right. It's just a matter of pulling the little section out that I want. Just editing for time, really. Everything else would be the same. As I probably will. I mean, I've got quite a bit of this gun saved in videos, and I'll probably chop it down, so that we can do a nice 2 or 3 minute edited video that shows all the different steps involved. I think that, if the owner ever decides to sell this gun, that'd be a really nice selling point. Hey, here's a 3 minute video of how your gun was created. Yay! That's cool. I mean, if I were in the market to buy one of my guns, that would definitely help. I'm not in the market to buy one, but I'm in the market to create one. And I think unless somebody offers me a bunch of money to do a gun next, I think my next one's going to be one for me. Because I don't have one yet. I don't own one of my own guns that I've engraved yet. And the reason for that is, I'm just trying to survive. Like I've explained before, my budget's pretty tight, and I've done that on purpose. But you know, having the money to just stop working and build something for yourself, it's just haven't been in a position to do that. Maybe I will. But a little bit of luck, I put in for a part-time job at the racetrack here. So, yeah, that'll help. It's my other passion. I love racing. I don't get to race because, well, I don't have the money to buy a car. I don't buy a race car. But yeah, Sebring International Raceway is, you know, 7 minutes away. I've already tested because I drove there. And when the weather's cold and the air is really dense, I can hear the cars running on the track. Like today, they're having an open track day. And I think there's a Miata club out there running this morning. And the air is like 45 degrees. So if you listen really close, whoops, I'll have to clean that up. You'll listen really close, and you can hear the Miatas out there running around the track. I'm 7 minutes away by car, but I think 5 miles maybe. But I put in for a job as I think they're called corner attendants or something like that. Basically, the people that watch the corners, and then they throw up the flags when something happens, help clean debris off the track. You know, corner marshals. It looks wonky. Yeah, I put in for a part-time corner marshal. I think that'll be really fun. Yeah. A lot of work. It's definitely something I'd never really considered doing, but as much as I love race cars, yeah, I can figure it out. I follow instructions pretty well. At least I think I do. Some might disagree, but I think I'm pretty good at following instructions. I tell you, I'm pretty good at making shit up, and yeah, extrapolating ideas from incomplete information. Pretty good at doing that too. Alright, so I'm going to be honest. If this were a video game, I'd swear I just leveled up. Because my background is flatter and smoother than anything I've ever been able to get before. And I don't know if that's because of the VLAT or the process or the stippling tool that I'm using now. Man, I'm happy with this background. And I still remember back when the first gun that I did for this particular customer, and I was trying to come up with a good process for doing background, and the one that I settled on was cutting away the background, getting it, halfway flat. Excuse me. Getting it halfway flat, and then coming back with my rotary and a tiny carbide burr, and just roughing up the background. I'll have to touch that back up. And it looked good, you know. It, if you look at it really close, it had the little lines in it like fingerprints. That's kind of a cool technique. Definitely different. But that's the one I settled on. I used that background process for probably a year. And then I had just started doing it was a 40, it was a 50, a big revolver. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a 50 cal revolver I did for Russell Troutwine. And I was doing the cylinder. And on the back side of the cylinder where you load the cartridges, I decided to engrave that space and cut away the background with my 105, and then went in with a flat. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I've been doing this a while. Let's try and come up with a really nice background. And started using my handpiece to stipple the background, trying to come up with different ways to hold the handpiece, and to that point, that became probably the nicest background I'd ever done. And that was more the same process that everybody else uses to do background. You know, outline your background with a 96, and, then come in with a flat, cut away the little islands, and then stipple with your handpiece and a punch. But yeah, Russell Troutwine's 50 was the first one that I was actually able to use that process. That was the first time it made sense and was comfortable in my hands. Yeah. Um, but, my hands aren't exactly normal. I get these massive ulcers on my fingertips just from this stupid disease. Yeah, I'm kind of in between outbreaks right now, so it's really not that bad. I don't have any open ulcers. Got lots of scars on my fingertips where the ulcers have been. Don't really have any open ulcers right now. I need to. This one actually needs to go. I'll come back. Get it after I get all this. Quit touching that bright cut. So if I were able to come straight down, then I can eliminate chopping up the edge of that bright cut. And I can't come straight down because then I can't see what I'm doing. See, that's straight up and down right there. Can't really see what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm always trying to find more effective ways to get the effect that I'm looking for. Take that right to there. Yep, once you start knocking pieces off, you're done. So let's get rid of that one little space. That one right there. You see this backbone come down. Yeah, right there. So this would all be background. Let's use the black. Oh. Where'd you go? There you are. Like trying to find a needle. All right. Get back on task. Yeah, I wish Steve Lindsay would come out with another hand piece. Like his like the Artisan, which is not as adjustable as the Classic, but really just hits at one speed, which is about the speed that I'm using right now, and built it with a longer body so that it's more pencil shaped, and then just sold it as a stippling tool. You know, so the whole thing is pretty much shaped like this, but instead of the piston being up here and having to reciprocate and push the vibration all the way through the handle, the piston's down here and works just like the Classic with a long body. It's one of those times where I wish I had a machine shop at my disposal, but you know, there's $1 million idea for somebody who has a good lathe. Yeah, yeah. Steve's handpiece is it's his patents run out, so I think somebody needs to talk to him and be like, "Hey, I've got this idea. Can I make this?" Don't just go stealing his idea, because even though the patents run out, I still think it's wrong. But hey, I've got this idea. I want to make this. Can I do it, please? You know, I think there may be a big enough market within the engraving community to be able to do a dedicated, you know, pencil type stippling tool, especially if you keep the cost right around, less than the artisan. People are paying, $1,500 for the classic. I think that's what mine cost. That was what, 8 years ago, and it's definitely paid for itself. Okay, so this go here, swoop right around. So yeah, this whole space is going to be gone. So yeah, if somebody would do a pencil type stippling tool, I'd buy one. And I know Andu out of I think it is Vietnam. I think he's doing one. But man, as much as I want to support that guy, because my first handpiece came from him, my very first one. As much as I want to support him, I did find out eventually that his whole business model was based off of copying the Lindsay Classic. So all of his handpieces are based off of Steve's original patent. So although I think the pencil type stippling tool, or he calls it the Bellino tool, is a good idea, I can't support somebody who steals somebody else's patent, even if it is something that I ultimately want. That's flirting with danger right there. That could get you in trouble in a hurry. One little slip and you've totally wiped out that backbone. Alright, cut that little bit away. I think today I'm going to do this in sections. I'll do one scroll and then stipple it, and then move on to the next one, remove the background in the next scroll, stipple it. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing more boring than doing background work. No. It's all the same anyway. You know, you're still cutting away metal, but background work just seems boring. And if I get to constantly switch between, you know, cutting the outlines and cutting away the little islands and, you know, and then stippling, it seems to go a little faster, a little more interesting, I guess, because you get to see the whole thing evolve as you get through it. I don't know. It's just a perception thing, I guess. Hmm. I know I want to take out this one. I don't really want to take out that one. I want that little tiny little spot of bright to show through, because that's the base of this leaf. So that leaf goes and it comes out and something like that. So just that little bit of bright, I want to leave that there. It's a tiny little thing that nobody's ever going to see but me. You know, talk about tiny little details that nobody's ever going to see but me. Wait until we get into cutting the eagles. Because I plan 2 days on each one of the eagles, because I know I'm going to get sucked into the detail. Because I don't get to do, you know, landscape work very often. So I'm kind of excited. I'm a little worried about it, but you know. A little worried about it, but not really. I mean, I haven't really screwed anything up yet. Or find a piece of wood to knock on. Just a little bit of weirdness at the basis of my cuts. I'm just trying to clean up a little bit. But I think the eagles are going to be fun. I had to create a whole eagle library of different images to use as reference. And whenever I first started drawing everything up, my customer is just like, "Ooh, I like this one. Let's do scroll work eagles." Okay, so I started researching all, and I was going to do a scene of an eagle flying over the mountains on this side, and then on the other side, do a really close up of just the eagle's head, straight on, almost like a portrait, you know, very angry, super high detailed. But we ended up deciding to do, the eagle over the mountain on this side, which is going to be cool. Which it's pretty traditional, it's pretty standard, and still going to be cool. I hate using the word standard, but there's nothing standard about any of this work. At the other side, it's still going to be kind of a close-up portrait, but it's more of a side view, and it's going to be really really interesting getting that texture in for all the different feathers and keeping the darks and lights of the eagle's head separate from each other, without everything getting washed out. It's it's going to be a fun one to pull off, and I know I'll pull it off. You know, it's going to be a fun one to watch the eagle come to life. Yep, that looks pretty good. So just brush all that off. Time is it? I just got to put my glasses on every time I want to see the time. It's 11:45. So I get the background done and one more scroll before lunchtime. So let's see if we can get that one right there done before I go eat. Yeah. Here's where the numbers on the barrel would be handy, going back and forth between widening the lines and stippling, I would know exactly where I want it to be. For cutting these outlines, I'd want like a number 2, so you just turn this to the number 2 and there. But you know what? Steve's making a fortune with these hand pieces because they are top of the line. So there's really no need for him to change anything. Everybody loves them. So why would you change a formula that works? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Just is what it is. Wasn't there a spot in the backbone on the last scroll that I did that needed to be touched? Let's go back and look. Now let's. Ah, yeah, it was right there. Yeah, it's a little humpy right there. But all right. Yes, I critique my work the whole way through. If something even looks remotely off, I'm going to notice it. Even like that, if there's a tiny little spot like that, I'm going to notice it. I'll remember it. And it'll bug me. But I also know that if I go back and fix it, then I've got to recut this entire line and keep it consistent. And, honestly, if I'm looking at an older engraving, if I'm looking for something that's looking at a project that I know is done by hand, I'm looking for little spots like that. Not because I think it detracts from the value, but because then I know that it was done by hand and not done by a machine. So I had somebody ask me why I don't do budget guns, and why are all of your stuff, $2, 3, 4, 5, $6,000? Can't you do one for me on a budget? You know, do me something that's you know $500. I'm like, well, what could I possibly do for $500? They're like, well, just simplify your design a little bit. I'm like, man, I don't know how to dial this down. You know, it's I could try doing less detail, but no, I don't do that. The detail it's part of it. And they're like, well, don't cut away the background. Well, there's other background treatments I can do, but they just they don't fit my vision. You know? It's almost like doing budget work. Just my brain doesn't comprehend, you know, dialing it down. It's like I can either do this 100%, to the best of my ability, or not at all. It's 100 or nothing. As much as I want to start doing some more short-term projects. There's more money in short-term projects. I'll be honest. Doing these big epic guns. The ones that are 200 hours. There's not a whole lot of money in it. I mean, yeah, there's several $1,000s, but you spread that several $1,000s over 200 hours, and you're averaging $10 an hour. You don't make a living doing that, but I don't make a living doing this anyway. I do this because I love it. But if you want to make money doing this, the smaller projects that you can knock out in a day or two, those are the ones that are going to make you money. The big epic guns, they're there because you love the job, you love the craft work. And yeah, sometimes I may complain about how hard the steel is, but at the end of the day, I love doing this work. There are some aspects that I would like to change, solve. The handpiece for stippling. I think we talked about that. Uh, I complain about my floor being on level all the time. Um, After sitting here for about an hour, I'll start complaining about my chair, because my chair is great for a little while. It's a saddle chair, and it's great for about an hour, and and then all of a sudden it's not. Like right now, this is about the extent of time that I can sit in a chair without getting in a hurry and trying to rush through what I'm doing, so I can get out of it. So, but at the end of the day, I love this work, and I'll continue to do it for as long as somebody's willing to pay me to do it, and even then, I'll probably still continue doing it on my own. Like I said, I want to do one for myself, just because I don't own a gun that I've engraved, and I think it's important that I at least have one. before I'm not able to engrave anymore, I at least have one that I did, so that I can pass down to somebody, or whatever I decide to do with it. Just add a nice bright flare there. Yeah, that would be nice. So unlike yesterday, my handpiece is really cooperating today. I have the idle turned way down. I mean, way down, and there is not an issue with idle surge or losing my idle or anything like that. It's just idle just comes out perfect. Okay. I think that looks good. I think that's a good place to stop, eat lunch, and yeah, I'll be back. Okay, back to work. Lunch was pretty good. Um, I had ramen with egg and sauteed onions and green peppers. That was pretty good. And at least I'm not going to starve to death. So, let's try to get the rest of this background done before I have to take a break and get out of this chair. So, ever since moving here, one of the things I've really struggled with is getting any work done, because it's gorgeous outside like all the time. I mean, except for like today. Today we're gonna have like a high of like 55 degrees. I know compared to the rest of the country, that's like tropical weather, but most of the time we have true tropical weather. Um, just 2 days ago, it was 85 degrees. Yeah, and I love to be outside. I'll be outside, all the time if I could. But I think that what I'm getting at is, I think one way to get around being so distracted by, the fact that I live in paradise. I live in a subtropical paradise where it's always warm. I think I just broke my graver. I live in a place where it's always warm and the sun is always shining. One way to stay motivated and to stop from getting distracted is to keep recording these videos. Yeah. Even if all I do is throw them up on my YouTube channel and, they just sit there and nobody ever watches them. At least I'm recording them and putting them somewhere. It's almost like accountability, I guess. Yeah. I think the little chip at the end is gone, but I'll take off just a little bit more to make sure that I get all that fracture. Ooh, heels are even. 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 But anyway, I think recording these videos just helps me stay on task. That's all. Caught on my shirt. So we're not taking out that section. We're not going to take out this section yet. I will in a minute. Boy, I feel like my hand is slippery. See, now we're getting back into what was going on yesterday. See, my day is so much more enjoyable when I don't have to fight with broken gravers. And I don't know what the difference is between going to lunch and now, but something's changed. And the only thing that could have changed is me. So, I'm grinding that back a little farther than normal. Make sure I get all that fracture. Where are you? Okay. I do wish I could pause the recording without having to stop it. Because I take a minute, go wash my hands. There you go. I'll just give you guys something to look at for a minute. Okay, let's try this whole working thing again. I mean, it's, my self-balance in this chair. Okay, so this comes down, and then here, here, there. Even the idle feels funny now. Again, I don't think it's me. I think it might actually be humidity related. I know it sounds like a cop out, like I'm trying to blame it on something other than me, but I think it might actually be a humidity issue. And I don't think it's so much an issue about the humidity in here. I think it's about the humidity outside. Excuse me. Because my compressor is sitting outside. And it's in a big plastic cabinet that's, sealed from rain and stuff. But it still has to draw its air from outside of the cabinet. And if it's picking up a whole bunch of humidity, then that humidity is being transferred, through the line into my handpiece. Just have to be extra careful, I guess. So, we're going to take this one out. Oh, another hard spot. Yeah, I'll have to remember to come back and touch that up with the graver. Yeah, be careful not to touch this. I want to leave that little bit there. It'll help tie in the fact that all of that, all of this scroll comes from behind this one. All right. Can't believe I'm worried about the humidity and my hands are extremely dry right now. Jeez. Yep, that'll work out fine. Little bite. Trying to do this without touching any of the bright cuts. Oh, got one. Darn it. I tried. Let's touch all those up really quick. And then stipple. And then move on. Oh, get out of there. And I haven't decided what direction I want to go next today. I want to start doing the initial shading. You know, after I finish the background work, I want to start doing the initial shading of this whole section. which is kind of fun to watch. Or if I want to go and do all the background work over here, I haven't really decided. I guess it's all going to depend on where my graver control is whenever I finish doing this background work. If I feel like my graver control is pretty high and it's where I want it to be, then I'll start doing the initial shading and separating leaves and doing the foldovers on this section. If not, then I'll have to do background work in the other section. Oh, I am waiting on doing this section back here because I want to do that in one continuous video. Stopping for breaks, of course, but I'll do one continuous video showing the whole process from putting on the transfer, cutting the outlines, doing the background work, doing stage 1 of the shading, and doing the final shading. All one long video that anybody could follow along with. Yeah. So one of my goals when I first moved down here was to take the time and write an instruction book, detailing, how I go about my process. But it hasn't happened, and I think that part of the reason that it hasn't is because I don't feel like I know enough to be able to teach people how to do this. I mean, if somebody wants to come and spend a day, go over techniques with me, if there's something that they want to learn, then yeah, we can do that. And just unlike the last, 4 people who have committed to coming out for the day, don't commit to it, and then I set my schedule around you, and then you ghost me the day before, you know, I've I've had to block 2 engravers from the uh, one of our engraving groups. I've had to totally remove them, block them, because they're like, yeah, do you think I could come out and spend a day with you? And then we set an appointment, and I block out my whole day for them. And then, I'll message them 2 days before, like, hey, just confirming, because I I set aside, an entire day for you, just confirming that you're going to be here at such and such time. Are we still on? And crickets, nothing. So, I mean, I've done it before. I've done it for people in the past. I will continue to offer that, not charge anything for it. No, not charge them to come out and hang out with me for a day and, set up a practice plate for them, show them, you know, the way that I do things. I'll continue to do it, and people continue to disappoint me, but there'll be that one person who'll do it, who will actually follow through, and they'll go on to do great things in the engraving community. So it's the only reason I'm still willing to spend my time doing stuff like that, is because there's always that one person who it's going to help. Yeah. Call me naive, I don't care. Yeah. I get called naive all the time. Yeah. It's okay. I don't mind being called naive. It doesn't really hurt my feelings. You know, I give people a lot of leeway. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to continue to help people no matter what kind of trouble it puts me in. And I'll continue to trust people no matter what kind of trouble it puts me in. Ooh, that looks good. I'm pretty happy there. All right, move on to the next one. Tell you what, stippling with that double-ended pin vise, you know what? That's the way to go right there. Tell you what, one of these days I wanna really get good at doing dot punch background. Can't really do it on stainless. But I think I think the dot punch background is probably the best, my favorite background to look at. Oh, get off there. That's why I keep a washcloth on my right leg. And that burr sticks. You just touch the washcloth, falls right off. I think my graver may be actually getting dull. Getting dull without breaking is kind of uncommon with carbide. Don't see it happen very often. But doing background work, a little dull usually works out to my advantage when doing background work. I can be pretty aggressive with my backgrounds. I have a theory about what my piston keeps sticking, but I can't prove it. I think it has to do with the heat generated by my hand. I think as I hold my handpiece in my hand, the barrel warms up just enough and expands, gives that piston a little more room to move free. So as long as I keep the barrel warm, I think it'll run fine. That should be with 96. It's a theory. I can't really prove it. And I don't really have anything more than just situational observation. Just based on my use. But it does explain why if I can't build a rhythm, why I can't get good heat in the barrel. I don't know. It's running great. It's running great right now. So I'm not gonna worry about it. So one of our church groups is going to visit the Okeechobee Battlegrounds next month. And I think I'm going to try and go. The downside is it's for our it's one of the groups that's to get senior citizens out of the house. You know, you have to be 50 years old in order to go, in order to be part of the group. I'm not 50 years old yet, and I refuse to believe that I'm old enough to be hanging around with old people, I guess. But I don't know. It feels weird being eligible, or potentially. You know, they probably let me go if I ask, but be eligible to be part of a senior citizens group. But, but considering half of the place I live in is senior citizens, you know, most of the people that live here in this community, they're all retired. You know. Maybe I should just embrace it, just go. You know. It's not like I don't know most of them anyway. I think it'd be cool to go to Okeechobee. I mean, even though it's only like 45 minutes from here. It feels weird. I feel like everybody that I hang out with now is, you know, 50, 60, 70 years old. And I'm just a kid. Even though I'm not. I mean, I'm only 2 years away from being 50. Actually, less than that. I'm like a year and 3 months, or a year and 6 months away from being 50. But you know, half the time I still feel like I'm, you know, learning the basic controls of this life. You know, I barely grasp what it's like to control my little human, you know, this body that I'm in. You know, I'm a little human, not a little human, I guess. No, I'm a pretty tall human, but my human vehicle is pretty tall. We'll put it that way. As I do, that's exactly how I view it. My human vehicle. So I'm gonna have to make a decision soon. Am I gonna keep doing background work? Doing background work in the next section, or am I gonna do the first level of shading in this section and get all the foldovers in and should do that with the 96. My handpiece is definitely cooperating. The idle's right where I want it to be. It's nice and smooth now. So I do think it's heat related. A couple little spots I need to touch. You, let's boy, that leaf came up short. I like to keep my everything touching. I don't like to leave any space in between my elements and the finial. Yeah, if I were doing what I call open scroll work, having a space like that would actually be larger. You see how everything is really close to touching. You know, having a large space like that, to me, it looks off. I don't think anybody else really cares, but it's one of those things I try and keep an eye on. You know, don't let it happen. You know, but you know, we are working with something that we're trying to make a pure living, so variation is going to happen. And like I keep saying, as Bob Ross would put it, it's a happy accident. think I'm hitting just a little hard. Now once again, I wish the adjusting barrel on this handpiece was marked so I could get right back to the same uh, strength, the same number of hits that I was using to do the background before launch, or even on just the last section. And if I had another handpiece, I would just hand engrave marks in there, but I don't, so I can't. I could do it with a rotary, but on on Steve's handpiece, on my Lindsay, yeah, no, can't do that. I think it would just look unprofessional to use the rotary to do it. But once again, if I had another handpiece that was shaped like a pencil, that I could dedicate to just doing background, wouldn't even be an issue. Hint, hint, Steve Lindsay, hint, hint, please. So that right there, that's the hardest part about putting big flares on my work. And I love doing big flares because I love how it looks. But doing big flares is really difficult to get a nice clean edge between the edge of the flare and the background. Because it almost wants that big flare and then a really shallow 90-degree cut and then into the background. I'll continue to do it. I still like the way that it kind of fades into the background. You know, even if I have to recut it. I need to recut that. That's pretty choppy. Wonder what happened there. You can see the tearing. There's a tear, 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 tear. By the way, unless you're comfortable in your control, don't try and do what I just did, start in the middle of a cut to clean up your flare. Now, one of the hardest things to do is to match up the angle of your graver to a previous cut. So if you're going to recut a line, like say I need to recut that, you would start back here, cut the whole line, cut the whole thing, because then you can, if your angle's off just a little bit, you can't tell because you're resurfacing the whole thing. Whereas if you start right here and try to recut it, if your angle's off just a little bit, it'll be quite obvious. Okay, enough about that. Oh, get all the brush all the chips off here. Let's get some black on there so we can It's just fat black Sharpie marker. It's what I use for temporary black. I'll let that dry for a minute. Let that dry for a minute while I get a cup and drink coffee. With my little scrub pad. Like I said before, my scrub pad is nothing more than a block of wood with a piece of leather on it. Foam on the backside just give me a little something extra to grip onto, but the leather is really what we want. Just want to make sure it's clean, make sure there's no metal pieces in it. Almost. And we just take our little scrub pad, scrub the black off the surface. And if you haven't dug any out of the background, then your background's definitely deep enough. Yeah, I just didn't get enough ink there. That's not a big deal. And like I said, this is just a temporary ink. Yeah, I'm gonna pull all this out because I put my glasses on. Yeah, my glasses are on and off and on and off and on and off all day long. So the other thing that I'm going to do different with this project is we're going to use a speedball black printing ink to do the final black. Um, recommended by Wes Griffin. I thought I'd give it a shot. It'll be the very last thing that I do, but the black that I have in there now, that's just temporary. If I put some little bit of acetone, will take that right out. Where supposedly um, acetone won't affect this speedball ink at all. I'm really excited to get a chance to try that, but we're still a couple weeks away. So continue with background work, or you know what? I kind of want to shade today. I could do, full on shading, but I'm gonna do leaf separation and stuff. Start getting everything laid out for the final shading. So I think the black came out great. Love how the flares. Background looks fantastic. Like how that kind of disappears. There's the other spot where it just kind of wanted to disappear. Okay, but anyway. There was another spot that I was really trying to save it is right there. Yeah, see, like this right here, it's just a tiny little detail that only I'm gonna see, and well, now anybody that watches this video, they'll know it's there, but nobody else is gonna see it. Let's pull all most of that black back out. That's just acetone. And I don't think there's any part of this gun that can be affected by acetone, except for maybe inside the front sight, but I don't know. I don't know exactly what their front sight is. I didn't really look at it that close. I don't know if it has a piece of fiber optic in there or not. All right. Sorry, I got a little bit of a drippy nose today. I don't know why. All right. Engraver's sharp enough. Let's I want to look at something really quick. Let's look at the other side. I have the other side already ready to shade. Okay. I'm going to change something here really quick because this is something I was thinking about last night. So I think this beginning leaf needed a little something other than just straight lines, you know. All right. Cover that back up. Yep. All right. So the two sides are, you know, at least this front section, they're pretty much the same. The biggest variation is just how I manipulate the handpiece. So it's kind of the human element is the only difference in the two. So we're going to go from here to there. Always keeping the vise moving. Alright, that's ready for final shading. Alright. I think it did. So subtle, but yeah, there's a little chip on the end. Okay, I sharpened it up. I probably should have sharpened it up before I started doing this anyway, but I think my heel's a little long on one side. That's all right. Quick fix. All right, where were we? Right there. Beauteous. I do wish I could keep the little bits of metal from sticking to my graver. And it's not because my graver is magnetized either. Oh, and by the way, I don't pay any attention to what kind of foldovers I did on the other side of the gun. It's just however I feel like detailing the leaf in that moment. Um, I don't think that my foldovers on both sides of the gun need to be exactly the same. And actually, I think it's better that they're not. But just say that it's not something that I really consciously think about. As far as I'm concerned, as long as the backbones are the same, then the rest of it, you can detail however we want. So I'm also using a new finial design that I haven't used on any previous pieces. It's almost like the leaf is doing a back bend, and it'll be cool. All right, let's see. I got a little aggressive with that flare, didn't I? Alright, there's the lead scroll. Ready for final shading. We're able to keep this up. Now we might actually make some progress today. Now let's do this one first. Yeah, I know, not a whole lot of talking while I'm concentrating. That looks good. I know, it looks like I'm just getting through this at a high rate, doesn't it? Because this is my second favorite part of the whole process. The final shading is my favorite because that's when it actually comes to life. That's when everything really makes sense. This part's my second favorite because it's really starting to take shape. And even though there's not a whole lot of detail in it yet, you can still tell, where the leaves are going, what they're doing, which way everybody's pointing. It's like, woo, the culmination of all this hard work is starting to make sense. Do here. Let's do center line of this leaf. And here we go. Yeah, let's leave that like that. And then we'll just shade this. Yep, that worked. This one here. So in here, if I were designing it again, I would probably eliminate this whole leaf right here and let this leaf kind of fall over the top of this scroll. Ah! I itched. And I knocked my lens off of my camera. Alright, time out while I climb underneath my bench. Oh, shit, I'm too old for this. Oh. Yeah, all that movement is just me walking around on the floor. That's I'm not touching the microscope or anything. Now, let's see. You line back up. Color balance looks fine. Yep, I think that'll do. All right. Oh. Got to remember, there's a camera right here, sitting right over the top of my left shoulder now. Like I said, I think having the camera in here and recording my work is the key to me staying focused and actually getting stuff done. So I think I'm just going to have to, get used to a camera being there. Because I think from here on out, it's going to be there. It may move around a little bit. Those cuts right there are prone to breaking gravers. I think it's because I roll my graver over so far to get them. And then this cut here kind of connects it all. Oh, that must be done racing at the track. I can hear everybody leaving. Yeah. Yep, I'll zoom out and take a look every now and then, make sure that everything still looks good. And I'm happy with this. Yeah, just one side on that one. A little bit of variation. Let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. Take it right to the center. Be careful. See, we don't really make mistakes. You just get really good at fixing the ones that you do make. Because if you only make microscopic mistakes, then it's easy to make a microscopic fix. Yeah. Zoom out a little bit. Stop. Looks good. I think I need to take a second and sharpen my graver. We're actually getting dull. Oh yeah. All right. Tighten it up. Yep, that'll do. Heels might be a little long for doing tight curves, but it'll be fine. Get a drink. Try not to knock the camera down again. All right. Let's finish up this section, and might call it a day for a little while. Maybe I'll come back and do more later, but I don't think people understand just how exhausting it is having to concentrate underneath a microscope all day. Doesn't feel right. There's a tiny little chip at the end. Yeah. Tiny little bitty chip. All right, let's. Yeah, more. Oh, runaway chair. Polish that. Try it again. So I wonder, since the supports for my deck aren't actually in the ground and they're just sitting on top of the concrete pads, if I can put wedges underneath the 8x8s holding all this up and level out the floor. Without destroying where everything's tied into the existing trailer. Guess I'd have to throw a level on it and find out how far off it is first. If it's only off by like half an inch, I can probably get away with it without tearing anything up. Anything more than that, and then I probably run the risk of, making a mess. Did that just break? Oh, come on. Here we go. I think it's me. I think it's because I'm getting tired. I really hate to stop in the middle of this process. This is kind of what I was afraid was going to happen if I started doing this part today. I'd get halfway through it and then I'd get tired and then start having problems and have to stop halfway through. But I'd rather stop halfway through than make a mess. So we'll give it a couple minutes. If I start having issues, then we'll call it a day early. It's one of the things I like about working for myself. If I start having issues, I can just stop. Just fix this here. Get off my shirt. Ah, right at the spot where the back edge of the gun slide is catching on my t-shirt every time I turn. So as soon as I make it to here, it's catching on my shirt. That's broken again. I'm not getting but one or two cuts, and then the end is broken. And it's got to be all me. All right, one more try. One more, and then I'll have to stop for a while. I mean, already, you know, what, 5 hours into today? 6? Yeah. All right. Where? And geez, I think there's maybe 2 dozen cuts left. All right. Sit up straight. Get your elbow up. It is. It's all me. I'm just getting tired. Okay. Love it when that all comes together. And the top hat. I know I shouldn't be adding shade lines until, I've got all of my object lines done. But oh yeah, I like it's gorgeous. Yeah, I think it's chipped. Just a little bit. Get a quick sharpen. I should be able to finish this up. Okay, looks good. Oh, fingers are hurting today. Temperature got cold. That right there, that's going to turn into an ulcer. It's all liquefied underneath. All that dark brown, that's all liquid. It's gonna, that's where the necrosis starts. And then that'll turn into an ulcer. So, anyway, let's get my chair up a little bit so I can. Once you start to get to the end of the gun, the opposite end of the gun sticks out just far enough. Gets caught on my shirt every time I turn it. Yeah. And sometimes if you stop in the middle of a cut, it cause problems. So you just raise up the chair. Raise up the chair, and you can sit back a little bit further. I mean, yeah, it means you gotta bend your head down a little farther to see through the microscope, but hopefully it's not for very long. Alright, almost done. Okay. Miss anything? Nope. Alright, that looks good. Just leather again. Anything more aggressive than leather, at this point is you're gonna wipe out the sparkles on the edge of your cuts, and then that would be bad. So, all right, dry for a second. Almost. All right, leather. And there's almost, I have almost no pressure on this block. It's just taking off the Sharpie marker on the surface. All right. So we're just peeking out there, coming into that scroll. That's beautiful. Same thing here. It's just peeking out. That's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. That totally makes sense now. Now we'll do something similar right there, but I'll do it with no bright shade. Now it looks good. Looks good. This section is ready for final shading. Woohoo! So, up next, it's going to be this section, but probably not till tomorrow. with that, let's be done for today. I think we got, oh, it's 3:30. So, yeah, not a bad day.